In this video, we will be studying about various list manipulation programs. In this program, we will create a list where we can enter n number of students' marks into it, and we will also have a user-defined function which will calculate the average marks for all those students. So inside the program, you can see we have defined a new function called compute average, which is expecting a list of all the marks obtained by the students, and n is the number of student marks which is available inside list 1. Now the control will go to the first statement outside the function definition. There I am creating a new empty list. So there is no value right now available inside list 1. After that, the user will be asked to enter the number of students. For example, if I enter 5, the variable n will have value 5. After that, you can see we have a for loop which will accept 5 marks and it will be appended or entered into list 1. Okay, so that we have some value inside list 1. So this for loop we will be using for all the programs that we are going to study in this session. So I'll be explaining the working of this for loop only in this program, because in the subsequent program we are going to use the same method to enter value from keyboard into your list. We have a for loop with control variable I, and it works with range with value n. So right now the value of n is 5. So now we can understand the value available inside this range is from 0 to 4. So 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4, right? Because the value of n is 5. So initially the first value 0 will be loaded into I. So I will have value 0, and then the for loop will start. First it will print enter the mark of student I plus 1. So why I have used I plus 1 over here? Because otherwise first time it will print enter the mark of student 0, because value of I is 0. So that is little awkward, right? Because we don't have a student 0. So always a student starts from 1, 2, 3 up till 5, but the index value runs from 0 to 4. So that is why we have used I plus 1 here. So when I print this statement, the output will go from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I know that I am entering marks for my first student, second student, and when I enter the marks for the fifth student, the for loop will finish. Now the next statement, I will take the mark as input and it will be stored into the variable called mark. Now for example, if I enter 80, that is a mark for the first student, it will be stored into the variable mark, and using the append function on list 1, I will enter mark 80 as the first element into the list. So now into my list, the first element 80 is entered. Now the control will go back to for loop and I will get the next value 1 into it. So the value of I will become 1. So now you see when the value of I is 1, actually we are taking the input for our second student. So this print statement will print enter the mark of student I plus 1. So 2 will be printed. So when it is printed, it will be logical to us. Now I will enter the marks belonging to my second student. For example, if I enter 70, it will be stored into variable mark, and then I will append 70 to the existing list 1. So now the next value available inside the list will be 70. Now again the control will go to the for loop. Now next value from the range will be taken and loaded into I. So the value of I will be 2 now. It will print enter the marks for the third student. And now if I enter mark 60, that will be stored into mark, and then it will be appended to the existing list. So 60 will be added. Now similarly, for loop will run 2 more time for index 3 and index 4. Right? So totally it will run 5 times. I can enter 5 marks and assume that if I enter marks 50 and 40 for student number 4 and 5, my list 1 will be like this. Now with the help of this for loop, I have taken the input from the keyboard one at a time, and I have added it to the list so that finally I will generate the list that I want to process in my program. So we will be using the same concept of this for loop to create the list for all the subsequent programs that we are going to see in this video. In the next statement, I am trying to calculate the average using the user-defined function compute average, and I will be sending the content of list 1 and the value of n as arguments to the parameters. So now the control will come to the function definition. So now the list 1 parameter will have this content 80, 70, 60, 50 and 40, and n has value 5. Now this function is trivial. It is just going to take one value from the list, add it to a total. Once the cumulative sum is available inside this variable total, we will just divide it by 5. So I will get the average. Okay, so let us see how that happens. So first I have a variable called total, and initially the value is 0. The for loop will select each value from list 1 and load it to variable mark. So first value 80 will be loaded into variable mark. Okay, and now the new value of total is identified by adding the current value of total with mark. Okay, so I will add 80 plus 0, so 80 will be obtained, and that will be loaded into total. So total now has value 80. Now the control will go back to 4 again. Now it will take the next value 70 and load it to the control variable mark. So this time you can see it will add 80 and 70 together, and the result 150 will be stored into the variable total. Now this for loop will work 5 times because you have 5 elements inside the list, and once the for loop is finished, it will add all these values and the result will be available inside the variable total. Now in the next line I will calculate the average. I will just divide the value of total by n. N is total number of students, which is 5. So I will divide total by 5. I will get the result into a variable called average, and then I will return the value of average. So now the control will come back to the function call, and the value that you have returned will be copied into the variable average. And after that I will just print average of 5 student is, then whatever is the average that your program has identified, that will be printed over here. So now let us run the program. So now our program is ready. So this is our user-defined function which will find the average of all the elements in the list. And here we have the main program, and in this for loop we will be accepting 5 numbers and we will be appending each number to the existing list one at a time. Okay, so finally we will have the list with 5 elements inside it. After that I will call my function compute average to find the average, and when the result comes back I will print it in the main program itself. So now let me run it. So now it is asking how many students are there. So I will enter 5. Now you see it is asking to enter the mark of student 1, right? That is why we have used I plus 1 here. If I simply use I, then it will be printed like enter the mark of student 0. Right, so that is a little awkward. So the index value of the list runs from 0 to 4, but actually when you have to print something on the screen, it is better you print from 1 to 5. Okay, so you can refer this is student 1, student 2 up till student 5. Okay, so that is why we have used I plus 1 over here. So now here I will enter 80. Now this value 80 is appended into list 1, and I am back at the for loop again, and it has printed enter the mark for student 2. Okay, so now I will enter 70. Next I will enter 60 for student 3, then 50 for student 4, and 40 for student 5. And now you can see the average of 5 student marks is 60 because we have entered marks like that. If you find the average of 80, 70, 60, 50 and 40, you can see the average comes to 60. Now you can use this program to enter n number of students. Okay, so if I run the program for entering marks for 10 students, now this for loop will run 10 times accepting 10 student marks. Okay, I will quickly enter the marks: 34, 56, 34, 567, 45, 56, 35, 89. So this is the last student. Okay, 57, and you see the average has gone to 103 because I made a wrong entry over here because one of the marks was really huge. You see it was 567. Okay, so anyway, the program is working properly. It has just found the average of all the 10 student marks and it has printed out the result as 103. So now let us continue to the next program. Okay, this program has to search a number in the list. If it is present, then it has to return the position where the number is available. Otherwise, it just have to return a message saying that the value that you are searching for is not available in the list. Okay, and we have to use user-defined function to achieve this, which means we have to write our own function to search through the list and print the result accordingly. So we have written a function which is called search itself. So that's the name of the function. It expects a list and a key value which you have to search inside list1 to find it or not. So now the control will come to the next statement outside the function definition. Now here also I have created a blank list. Now the next statement, program will ask how many number you want to enter. Okay, so that is the size of the list. So for example, I can give here 5 itself. So the value of n will be 5. Now after that, print the number of list. So again, we have the for loop here, which will input 5 elements into the blank list1. As I have explained the working of this for loop in the previous program, I'm not going to discuss it now. So just understand this for loop will work n times, so that is 5 times, and each time it will get a value from the keyboard, it will add, which means it will append it to the existing list value. Now for example, if I enter 5 values like this, now list1 will have this contents. Okay, for example, I will say 12, 5, 13, 69 and 8. Okay, so these are the 5 numbers that I have entered, and my for loop has created list1 by appending each number one at a time to this list. So now for loop is finished. After that, I have to enter a key. So this key value, I am going to search whether that is available inside the list. So we will enter the key value as 69. So I have to search whether 69 is available inside list1. If it is available, then I have to get the position value where 61 is available inside the list. If 69 is not available, then I will get a message saying that 69 is not present inside the list. But now we have selected 69 because we know that it is available inside the list, so that we are expecting the position value. So now 69 will be stored into variable key. So key has value 69, and after that I'm calling my function search with list1 and key. Okay, so now the control will come to our function called search. So now list1 has this values inside it, and key has value 69. Now inside the function, you can see we have a for loop. Now this for loop job is to find out whether this key is available inside list1. So now first I will create a range operator with start value as 0 and stop value as length of the list. So here you can see length of the list is 5. So this range operator will go from 0 to 5. So the actual value inside the range is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4, because that is the actual index value of the list. So 12 is available at index 0, 5 is available at index 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, so these are the index value available with list1. Now after that, the first index value 0 will be loaded into control variable I. So now I has value 0, and there I will check whether list 1 of I, so right now the value of I is 0, is equal to key. Now what is the value of key? That is 69. We are searching for 69. So now you see the value of list 1 with index value 0 is 12. So 12 is equal to 69. Now this is false. So now this return statement will not be executed. Now the control will go back to 4 again. Next value from the range, that is 1, will be loaded into I. Then I will check whether list 1 of 1 is equal to 69. So right now 5 is available at index value 1. So here I am checking whether 5 equal to 69. Again it is false. I will go back to 4. I will load the next value from the range, which is 2, into I. Okay, so now list 1 of 2 equal to 69. You can see the value available at index 2 is 13. So 13 equal to 69 is again false. I will come back to 4. Now I will load the range value 3 into control variable I. So now I am checking whether list 1 of 3 is equal to 69. You can see the value at index 3 is actually 69. So this will be 69 equal to 69. Now you can see this is true. And when the if condition is true, I will return with the position I. So right now you can see the value of I is 3. So now this return statement will be executed with value of I. So right now value of I is 3. So the control will come back to the function call. Now you see the for loop didn't finish, but still you are returning back because your job is done. You identified 69 is actually present inside the list, so you don't have to complete the for loop to search the subsequent terms. Once return is encountered, the control will come out, and now the value 3 will be loaded into result. Now I will check if result is not none. Now we can see the result has value 3, so it is not equal to none. Right, so this will be true. So now I will print key value 69 is present in position result plus 1. So I will print here 4. Why? Because you see 69 is actually available in the 4th position. If the question says you have to print the index value, then you have to print 3. But if the question says you have to print the position value, then position always starts with 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. Alright, so you just have to add 1 before you print the result. So now it will print 69 is available at position 4 in list 1. Now you will have a bit confusion here. Why I am checking whether result is not none? It is because I have one more return statement here which returns none, and this return statement is executed if the key was not found out inside list 1. For example, if I was searching for value 100, which means the value of key which I am searching inside list is 100. You can see 100 is not available inside list 1. In that case, this for loop will work 5 times, searching for each value inside list 1. Okay, list 1 with different indexes. It will check whether the value is equal to 100. So each time it will be false, right? So 5 times you will get false. So this return statement will not get executed. So once the for loop is finished without executing this return statement, it means that the key which you are searching for inside the list is not available in the list. So in that case, you will call this final return statement and you will be returning the value none. So in that case, none will be loaded into the variable result. So now the if condition check, you can see if result is not none. So this will be false if result is actually none. So the control will come to else and you will print the key value 100 is not present in the list because your function search returned none as the result. So now let us run the program. So now our program is ready. You can see here, this is a search function which will identify whether key is available inside list 1. Okay, and here we have the main program, and this is the for loop which will enter elements into the list, and this is where we enter the value key which we have to search in the list, and this is where we call the function. So now let us run this. So how many numbers you want to enter to the list? So if you enter 10 here, then your list will be accepting 10 numbers into it. So I will enter 5 itself. So now it is asking the 5 elements that you have to enter to the list. So I will enter 45, 34, 2, 13 and 6. Now it is asking for the number that is to be searched. So this number is going to be stored into the key value. So I have these numbers available inside the list. So I will enter 34. We know that 34 is available at position 2. Okay, so now I will hit enter. So now you can see the result, key value 34 is present in position 2. So you should understand, actually this function has returned with value 1 because index value of 34 is 1. Right, so while printing the result, I have just added the value of result which is I with 1 so that the position will make sense. Okay, so that is the second position term. So the program was able to identify 34 at second position inside the list. Now let me run the program again. This time I will enter 5 element to the list. So now I will enter a number which is not available inside the list. For example, I will try to find out 100 inside this list. Okay, so now we know that it's not available. Now you see the program finds it. Key value 100 is not present in the list. And why it is printed like that? For loop was not successful in identifying 100 inside the list. So finally your function search return none. Right, so none is stored into this variable result, and here I am checking whether result is not none, so this will be false. I will come to else, and here I will print key value 100 is not present in the list. Okay, so that's the result. So now let us continue to the next program. In this program we have to separate odd and even numbers from a list into two separate lists. So we have a user-defined function here, and the name of the function is separator. It will accept a list. It will read each numbers from this list. If it's an even number, it will be added to a list called even list, which I have represented in here as elist. And if the number is an odd number, it should be added to odd list. Okay, I have represented it as O list over here. So now the program starts from here. So the left side I have just put the function definition. On the right side we have the main program. So here the program starts. First I am creating a blank list. After that I will print how many numbers you want to print in the list. If I enter 5, that will be stored into variable n. So n will have value 5. Now it will print enter the number to the list. Now this for loop, as we have discussed before, it will accept 5 numbers from the keyboard and it will append it to list 1. So once this for loop is done, we will have 5 value inside list 1. So I will just write it over here because this is where we are going to process it. So let's say these are the values that we enter into list 1. Now after that I will print the original list is list 1. So again in the terminal we will just print the values of list 1. So it will be printed like 10, 13, 7, 8 and 6. And then we are calling our function separator with the argument list 1. So now the control will come to our function definition. So now list 1 have these values inside it: 10, 13, 7, 8 and 6. Now I have created two blank lists called elist and odd list. One is for storing all the even numbers from list 1. The other one is going to store all the odd numbers from list 1. So now we have a for loop. This is where we separate even and odd numbers and add it to respective list. So now inside for loop I have an if condition. Now we have discussed this before. Whenever you have to separate even and odd numbers, always remember use modulo division by 2. Okay, so if a number perfectly divides by 2, which means remainder is equal to 0, in that case the number is an even number. So if this condition is true, then it's an even number inside the variable num. If this condition is false, then it's an odd number. Okay, so for odd numbers the else condition will work, and for even numbers the if condition will work. So now let us start. So first the value 10 will be loaded into control variable num. Now inside if condition check we will see whether 10 modulo 2 is equal to 0. You can see 2 perfectly divides 10, so the remainder is 0. So 0 equal to 0 is true. So now we can understand 10 is an even number. So now I will add 10 to elist. So now 10 will be added into elist. Now the control will come back to 4. Now the next value 13 will be loaded into num. So now I will check 13 modulo 2. So when you divide 13 by 2 you will get remainder 1, and 1 equal to 0 is false. So now the control will come to else because 13 is an odd number, and now you are appending 13 into O list. So now the odd list will have the first value entered as 13. So now the next value 7 will be loaded into num. 7 modulo 2 equal to 0 is false. Control will come to else. So now 7 will be appended into O list. So the next value 7 will be added to O list. Now 8 will be loaded into num. This time the if condition check will be true. So 8 will be loaded into E list. So 8 will be member of EList now. Now the last element 6 will be loaded into num, and now I will check whether 6 modulo 2 is equal to 0. That is true. So now 6 will be appended into EList, and now my for loop will finish because I have just picked up all the values from list 1. So now this is the content of EList and this is the content of OList. So after that I just need to print both of them. Okay, so the even number list is EList, so it will print 10, 8 and 6, and the odd number list is OList, it will print 13 and 7. So now let us run this program. Alright, now our program is ready. You can see this is our function called a separator, which will separate the values inside list 1 into even list and odd list. And here we have our main program, which creates an empty list, then fix the size of the list and enters value into the list using for loop one at a time. And then in the main program I will just print the content of original list, and after that I will call the function separator to segregate even number and odd number into separate list. So now let us run the program. So now it is asking how many numbers you want to enter to the list. So I will say 6 so that I can enter 6 numbers into the list. Okay, so I will give 2, 5, 7, 13, 6 and 8. Let me just expand it. So this is the output. So here you can see I enter 6 value into the list. Okay, 2, 5, 7, 13, 6 and 8. So this is the original list. You can see all the 6 values inside it, and our function has separated even and odd numbers and printed out. So you can see the even number list has value 2, 6 and 8, and odd number list has the rest of the value 5, 7 and 13. So now this program has successfully separated even and odd numbers into different lists. So now let us continue. In this program, we are asked to find the largest and the second largest number from a list without using sort function. So now here you can see the program is little lengthier because we are not allowed to use the sort function. If you are allowed to use the sort function, then this program is really simple. Once you get the list, you just have to call the sort function on the list. So the content of the list will be sorted out in ascending order. And after that, if you want to print the largest number, print the last number in the list. And if you want to print the second largest number, you print the second last element in the list. Alright, so this program will become far more simple if we were allowed to use sort function. But if you get a question like this where you are not allowed to use sort function, which means you have to write your own function to find the largest and the second largest number, then we have to proceed like this. So let us see how it's done. So we have a user defined function over here. It is called as first sec, and it expects a list to find the largest and the second largest element in this list. So on the left side we have the function definition, and on the right side we have our main program. So our main program starts from here. We create a blank list. See, the first few statements is common for almost all the programs that we are studying now. So initially we will create a blank list, then we will ask what is the size of the list you want. So for example, if I enter 5, after that the for loop will work 5 times, so that you can enter 5 elements into the list, and then you will just print the original list, and after that you call the function to do whatever you want. Now let us say this is the values that are available inside list 1 that is passed to the function definition. Okay, so inside my function definition, list 1 has values like this. So now you can see, according to this value, the output that we are expecting, the largest number is 9 and the second largest number is 6. Okay, so that is the output that we want to generate from this function. So let us see how it is done. So first I will create 2 variables, flar, which stands for first largest number, and the second variable slar, which stands for second largest number. So initially I am loading the first value of the list. 3 is available at index value 0, then you have index value 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, so these are the index value for this list. So now the value available at index value 0 is loaded into flar and slar. Okay, so right now the value of flar is 3 and the value of slar is also 3. Now after that you can see we have 2 for loops. Okay, That is for loop number 1. This is for loop number 2. The job of the first for loop is to identify the first largest number. And the job of the second for loop is to identify the second largest number. So now let us see how the first for loop works and find the largest number from this list. Now inside the for loop we have a control variable num. It takes one value at a time from list 1. So these are the values available in list 1. So initially value 3 will be loaded into num. So now I will check whether the value of num, which has value 3 now, is greater than flar. So here you can see this is false because both of them are equal now. So the next statement belongs to if, so it will not be executed because this condition is false. So now the control will go back to 4. It will load the next value 9 into num. Okay, so now it will check whether 9 is greater than 3. Now you see this is true. So in which case I have found a value which is bigger than the current value of flar. So I will copy value 9 into flar. So now flar has the bigger value stored inside it. So now the control will come back to 4 again. Now it will load the next value 6 into num. So now I will check whether 6 is greater than 9 because that is the current value of flar. Now this is false. So now the control will go back to 4 again. The next value 5 will be loaded. I will check whether 5 is greater than 9. Again it is false. Okay, so the control will come back to 4. Now 2 will be loaded to num, and now I will check 2 is greater than 9. Again it will be false. So now our for loop is done because all the elements inside the list is taken. And now you see what is the value of flar. It is 9. That is the largest element available inside the list. Okay, so the first for loop has done its job. So now we go to the next for loop. Now we see we are running the same logic inside this for loop, but we have a small difference here. We will copy the value of num into slar if num is greater than slar, just like previous for loop, and num is not equal to flar. So the thing is that I will not consider 9 while I am running this if condition. So the logic of this for loop is that, so this if condition will work for all the numbers except 9. So it is as good as removing this 9 from this list and then finding out which is the largest element. Okay, so now we can see 6 will be identified as the largest element, and now we can print 6 is the second largest element. So now let us see how it works. Our second for loop is going to start. Now before that, flar already has value 9 because that is identified from the first for loop. Now slar initial value is 3, that is provided in this statement, and num is a control variable inside for loop, and it is going to get one value at a time from list 1. So first value 3 will be loaded into num. Now it will check whether 3 is greater than 3, slar is 3, and 3 is not equal to 9 because that is the value of flar. Now you can see the first condition is false. Okay, so this statement inside if will not be executed. Now the control will go back to 4. Next time 9 will be loaded into num. Now I will check whether 9 is greater than 3. You see this is true. But when you check the next condition, the value of num now is 9. 9 not equal to 9. This will give false. So this entire condition will become false. So 9 will not be stored into slar. So now the control will come back to 4. The next value 6 will be loaded into num. So now you check 6 is greater than or equal to 3 and 6 not equal to 9. You can see the first condition is true because 6 is greater than 3, and the second condition 6 not equal to 9 is also true. So this condition will evaluate to true. So now I will copy value 6 into slar. So now slar will have value 6. So right now the value of slar is 6. After that 5 will be loaded into num. So that's the next value. So now if I check whether 5 is greater than 6, it will give false. So I don't have to check the other part because if you have AND operator, if any one side is false, the result is going to be false. So the statement will not work. I will come back to 4 again. The next value 2 will be loaded to num. I will check whether 2 is greater than 6. Again, that is false. So this statement will not work. Now the for loop is finished. It has taken all the value from list 1. Now I have to just print the largest number is FLAR, so that is 9, and the second largest number is SLAR, that is 6. Okay, so now you can see we got the right output. This is the largest element, this is the second largest element. So now let us run this program. So our program is ready. You can see this is our function definition up till here. This is our main program where we accept the values into the list. And this is where I call the function first sec with the value inside list 1. So the control will come to here to my function definition, and there the first for loop I will find the largest number into FLAR, and in the second for loop I will ignore FLAR, and with the other value I will find the largest value, so that will be the second largest value in the list and it will be stored into SLAR. And then I will just print the value of FLAR and SLAR as the largest and second largest number. So now let us run this. So how many numbers you want to enter into the list? You can enter 7 if you want. So now I will just enter some random values into my list. So now this is the value that I have given into the list. Now you can see the largest value inside this list is 55. So our program is identifying it. And the second largest number available inside this list is 45, and our program is printing it. In this program, we will study how to delete duplicate elements from a list without using any built-in function. Okay, so we have to write our own user-defined function which will read the entire content of the list, and if a value is repeating again, that should be removed. For example, if I have a list with values like this. Now if this is the input list, I will call it as list 1. Now I will prepare the output list called list 2. And what I'm going to do in this program is that I will just copy one value at a time into this list 2. And when I copy, I will just make sure that element is not available in list 2, then only that element will be copied. Otherwise, I will just skip that element. So first 3 will be copied because it is not available in list 2. After that 4 will be copied. After that 6 will be copied. And now we come to the next 4. So this 4 is our duplicate element, right? So when I try to copy this 4, I will check whether 4 is already available in list 2. So here you can see 4 is already available. So I will not copy. I will just skip. I will go to the next element 7. I will copy it. Now our list 1 is finished. And my program will terminate by printing the value of list 2, because you can see there is no duplicate element inside list 2. So now let us see how it is done. So our program starts from here. This is where we have defined our function. The name of the function is duplicate, which will identify duplicate elements in list 1. It will remove those duplicate elements and create a new list with name list 2. We'll come to the main program. I'll create a blank list over here. The name of the list is list 1. We will accept the input into this list 1. Now the next statement, I will print how many numbers you want inside the list. Now that value will be stored into n. Now it will print enter the number to the list, and using this for loop, you can enter n number of terms into list 1 using built-in function append. Okay, so we have seen this in the previous program, you know this. After that, we will just print the original list. So whatever content you have entered into the list will be printed out again. Now I will call the function duplicate with argument list 1. So now the control will come to our user-defined function. Assume that this is the value that you have entered into the list using the keyboard. Okay, so right now list 1 has value 3, 4, 6, 4, 7, and our aim is to remove the second duplicate element 4 from this list. Now let us see how duplicate function does the job. So now list 1 have this value inside it. Okay, 3, 4, 6, 4, 7. Inside the function, I'll create a new list. Okay, so that is called list 2, and it's a blank list. So right now there is nothing inside list 2. Okay, it's blank. And now we have a for loop which will accept one value at a time from list 1. Now inside the for loop, I have an if condition which will check whether the current value which I got from list 1 is not in list 2. So you see, this condition will be true only if the value that you got from list 1 is not available in list 2. Okay, so if that value is not available, then only I will append the value of num into list 2. So now you can see this append function is inside your if statement, and inside for loop we have these two statements. Okay, so now let us see how it works. So once this for loop starts, we have our control variable num which takes value from list 1. Okay, so these are the values available in list 1. So first value 3 will be loaded into num. Okay, so now if I write num over here, the value of num initially is 3. Now I will come to the if condition. It will check whether 3 not in list 2. Now you can see list 2 is blank, nothing is inside it. So if I check whether 3 is not in list 2, it is true because list 2 is blank now. So I will execute next statement, and now the value of num, that is 3, will be appended to list 2. So 3 will be entered into list 2. So now the control will come back to 4. Now the next value 4 will be loaded into control variable num. So the value of num will become 4. So now it will check whether 4 not in list 2. So right now list 2 has only value 3. So value 4 is not available inside it, right? So this condition check again will be true. I will come into the append function. There I will add value 4, that is a value of num, to list 2. So now 4 will be added to list 2. Now the control will come back to 4 again. Now 6 will be loaded into num. So num has value 6 now. Now it will check whether 6 is not available in list 2. Okay, that is true, but 6 is not there in list 2. So again this condition is true. Now value 6 will be appended into list 2. So 6 will be added. Now we have our duplicate term. So next our duplicate item 4 is loaded into num. Okay, so right now the value of num is 4. Now it will check 4 not in list 2. This will return false. Why? Because list 2 now has 4 inside it. So now this if condition will return false. Okay, so now this append function will not work for 4. So now you can understand the second 4 will not be copied into list 2. So now the control will go back to 4 again. It will copy the last element in list to num. Now the value of num will become 7. The condition will check 7 not in list 2. Now again it's true. Why? Because you see list 2 there is no 7 inside it. So now 7 will be appended into list 2. So 7 will be added. Now the for loop will terminate because all elements inside list 1 is taken. Now outside the for loop I will print the final list, that's the content of list 2. So it will print 3, 4, 6 and 7. So in this way you can remove the duplicate element from a given list without using inbuilt function. So now let us run the program. Now our program is ready. You can see this is the function definition for, and using this for loop and if condition check, we will remove the duplicate element when each element is moved from list 1 to list 2. And in the main program, you can see we have created the blank list. We will enter how many elements you want to enter into list. Now using this for loop, you will enter the value into list 1. Okay. And then it will just print the content of list 1 once again for us to understand what values you have entered. And then you will call the duplicate user-defined function with argument list 1. So now the control will come to this function, and inside function we will remove the duplicate element of list 1 and create list 2. So now let us run this. So how many numbers you want to enter to the list? You can say I will enter 6 elements, and now you can enter elements. So make sure that some of the elements are duplicated. So 5 I will enter again, 4 and 5, and one more number I will enter, maybe 9. So here you can see the original list is 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, 9. So here in this list, the second 4 is a duplicate element. okay, because 4 is coming twice, and the next element 5 is also a duplicate element because 5 is also repeating. So in the output you can see now I have removed the second 4 and second 5. So the content of the output is having only 3, 4, 5 and 9, okay, without any repetition. Now let me run the program again. Now for example you can enter 7. Now I will repeat the same elements inside the list again and again, okay, so we can enter 4 many times. So here you can see I entered 4 7 times inside the list. So this is the original list where you can see 4 is coming 7 times, and in the final list I have removed all the duplicates, so which means I have to copy only the first 4, right? After that the entire content of this list is a repetition of the first element, okay? So you can see the final list has only one value 4. Now let us continue to the next program. Now in this program we will study how to insert an element into list at a given position without using built-in function, okay? So we have to use user-defined function for this program also. So let me explain to you what this program does. So we have an input list called list1 and assume that it has some values like this: 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So list 1 has 5 elements inside it. Now after that our program will ask what value you want to insert into the list, okay? So if you enter 10, and then our program will ask what position you have to insert it. So if you insert it at 2, so you should understand position value starts at 1, okay? Index value starts at 0, position we will assume it is starting at 1. So this is position 1, this is position 2. So value 10 has to be inserted between this 3 and 4 so that 10 will be available at position 2. So after the program finishes, your list 1 should be like this: 3, and after that at position 2 10 should be inserted, and starting from 4 until the end of the list should be pushed one place to the right. So 4 will be available at position 3, 5 will be available at position 4, 6 and 7. So this should be the output of our program. So the input is just a list with some values. After that you have to enter what value you want to insert into the list at what position. So let's see how our program does that. Now our program starts. You can see we have a function definition here. The name of the function we have used is insert. Now it is expecting a list, it is expecting a value, and it is expecting a position number. Now the purpose of this function is to insert this value v at position p into list 1. So now the control will come to the next statement outside the function definition. So our program will start from here. I create a blank list list1, and then I will enter how many numbers you want to enter to the list. That will be stored into n. Using this for loop I will enter 5 elements to the list if value of n is 5, and I will just print the original list is list1 so you can understand that are the values that you have entered. Now in the next line you have to give an input for this value val, okay? So this is the value that you're going to insert into list 1. So here you can see enter the value to be inserted. So here you can give the input as 10, and next you have position, okay, POS, and there the program will ask enter the position. So here you can input as 2. So which means that in list 1 I have to insert value 10 at position 2. Now to do that I will call the function insert with the value of list1, val and POS, okay? Now the control will be moved to the function definition, and here I will just write the value of list1, v and p so that when we work through the function we can understand what is happening inside it. So let us assume the 5 numbers that I have entered into list1 is 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, and the corresponding index values are 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So this is list 1. The value of v is 10 because the value of val is passed into v, and value of p is 2 because the value of position is passed into p. So this is the input value that is obtained by function insert. Now inside insert, I'll create a new list called list2. It's a blank list. So right now you can see list2 has nothing inside it. Now after that, you can logically divide insert function into 3 parts. Okay, so the first for loop is our first part. After that, you can see we have an append function with list2. That's the second part. And the third part, you have another for loop. Now just for logically understanding these 3 units inside insert function, let's assume this is our input list. It has some values inside it, and for example we will say value 10 has to be inserted into this location. This is not position 2, okay, just I am saying for an example value 10 should come here. So now when I create my output list, the first for loop will copy all the values before this position P. Okay, so these 3 values will be copied by first for loop. After that, you can see I am inserting the value into list 2. So the value 10 will be loaded into list 2. That's our output. And the final for loop job is to copy all the pending terms into list 2. So now you can see in our output we have all the elements in list 1 plus value 10 is inserted at the correct position. Okay, so that is the logical breakdown of what is happening inside this insert function. So now let us trace the program to understand it. So right now, this is the content of list 1. The value that we are going to insert is 10 and we have to insert it at position 2. Or I will do one thing, I will just change this position value to 3 so that this first for loop also can execute 2 times. So our aim is to create a list with elements like 3, 4. After that you should have 10, because right now I am trying to insert value 10 into position 3. So you just assume that the input that you give here is 3 and you have passed position value 3 to insert function. So now we will start. So the first for loop is ranging from 0 to p minus 1. So here you can see the range operator goes from 0 to p minus 1 is 2. So the value inside this range will be 0 and 1. So now the first value 0 will be loaded into I. And inside for loop I have only one statement which will get the value of list 1 of I. So right now list 1 of 0, that is first element 3. And that will be appended into list 2. So now list 2 will get the first element 3 copied from list 1. After that, the control will go back to 4 again. Now the next value from the range 1 will be loaded into I. Now I'll come inside the for loop and there I will pick the value list 1 of I. Right now the value of I is 1. So list 1 of 1. So that is value 4. That will be appended into list 2. So here you can see 4 also will be added to list 2. Now our first for loop is finished. You can see all the values inside the range function is finished. Why? Because you see you have to insert 10 here, right? That is position 3. So now you can see all the values before position is copied by the first for loop. 3 and 4 is now copied into list 2 by our first for loop. Now once this for loop is finished, I will come to the next statement and there I will append the value of v. And what is the value of v? That is 10 to list 2. So as the next element to list 2, I will add 10. So now you can see 10 is added in the third position, okay, inside list 2. Now what is pending with us? We have to copy 5, 6 and 7 into list 2. Now that job is done by our next for loop. Okay, so here you can see this for loop ranges from p minus 1. So right now the value of p is 3. So p minus 1 is 2 to length of the list. So what is length of the list? That is 5, because this list has 5 elements inside it. Now if this is the range value, now what will be the value available inside it? That is 2, 3 and 4. So now the first value 2 will be loaded into control variable I. I will come inside this for loop. I will get the value of list 1 of 2, because that is the value of I now. Okay, so the value of I right now is 2. So list 1 of 2, so that is value 5, and that will be appended into list 2. So 5 will be copied into list 2. Now the control will come back to 4 again. It will take the next value 3 and load it into I. So now list 1 of 3 is value 6 because 6 is available at index 3. So now 6 will be appended into list 2. So 6 will come here. Now the control will come back to 4 again. Now it will load the last element from the range function, which is 4. Okay, so now it will get the value of list 1 at index 4. So that is value 7. So value 7 will be appended to list 2. Now I'll come to the last statement of the program where I will print the new list. So this will be the output, which you can see in the terminal, where 10 is inserted at the 3rd position according to the input given by us. So now let us run this program. So our program is ready. You can see this is our function definition. We have our first for loop, which will copy all the values from list 1 to list 2 before the position. Then we will add the value at the position using this statement at line 6. And the next for loop will copy all the pending values from list 1 into list 2, and here it will print the value of list 2. Now inside our main function, you can see we have created the blank list, and up till this for loop we are accepting the value into list. And this print statement will print all the elements onto the screen again. Next statement, we will give the input as the value to be inserted into the list, and after that we will give input to which position that value should be inserted, and then we will call the function. So now let me run the program. So how many numbers you want in the list, I will enter. Now I have to enter the value inside the list. So I will enter 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So now it is just printing the list content again. Now the program is asking enter the value to be inserted. So I will enter 10, and where you want to insert it. So I want to insert 10 as the 3rd element in the list. So I will give the position value as 3. So now here you can see we have created the new list. Okay, so I have inserted 10 at the 3rd position. You can see 3 and 4 comes before it, and 5, 6 and 7 comes after 10. So now 10 is inserted exactly at the position that we wanted. Okay, so now let us continue to the next program. Now in this program we will study how to reverse the content of a list without using the reverse function. Okay, so if you are allowed to use the reverse function, then you can directly use it. The content of the list will be reversed. You can copy it to a new list and you can print it. But if in the program it says that you cannot use reverse function, in which case you have to write your own function. Now when our program starts, you can see initially we have the function definition. I'm using the name of the function as a reverse list, and it is expecting a list as input to this variable a. So a will be actually pointing to the list that is sent by the main function to reverse list. So it is not mandatory that you have to give a name like list 1 or list 2 over here. So any variable name can be given to the parameters, right? It will accept the value and the program will work. You just have to give a wherever you want to refer to this list inside the function. So now the control will come to the next line outside the function definition. Now an empty list will be created. Then how many elements you want to enter into the list. So I will enter 5. And after that I have a print statement where it says enter the elements to list. After that, by using this for loop, you will make a 5 entry into list 1. After that, you will print the original list. So whatever value you have entered into the list will be printed. Next, you are calling the function reverse list with the list 1 which you have just entered. So now the control will come to the function definition. Now assume that this is the input that you have entered into list 1. Okay, so it has 5 elements inside it. We have 3, 4, 0, 5 and 7. So right now list A has this value inside it. Okay, 3, 4, 0, 5 and 7. Now before we see the work of this function, let me remind you, we have seen a similar kind of function when we have studied strings. I remember we have done a program to find out palindrome. So in which case I have my first index, that is a starting index, point to the first element, and the end index point to the last element, and then I will compare this element one at a time. And after this comparison was done, I will increment the starting index to 4 and I will decrement the ending index to 5. Then I will compare it again. Almost the same logic we are using inside this program, but instead of comparing, we will exchange their values. Okay, so 5 will come here and 4 will go there. 7 will come here and 3 will go there. So using these two indexes, once I keep on exchanging, now finally you will get your list completely reversed. So let us see how that is done. So now assume that these are the values available inside our list 34057. So I will write the index value of this list elements over here. Okay, so these are the index values 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So inside the function definition, you can see we have S index, that is starting index. So I will refer it as SI. That points to 0. So SI now points to 0. And E index stands for our end index. That is the last index value. And how do you find out? That is length of A minus 1. So A is the name of our list. So length of A will give value 5. So 5 minus 1, 4 will be the value inside end index. So here you can see end index points to index value 4, which is actually referring to the last element. Now by using this while loop, I am actually interchanging the value so that you will get the elements of list reversed. So now I will check whether the value of S index, that is 0, is less than end index, that is 4. So I will write the values over here. So right now the value of S index, that is starting index, is 0 and the value of end index is 4, and I am checking whether 0 is less than 4 over here. So you can see this is true. I will come inside. I have a variable called temp to store temporary value when you exchange, because you see when you copy this 7 to 3, if you don't store this 3 into another variable, this 3 will be overwritten. Then you cannot move 3 to the last position. So before you write this 7 to 3, you have to copy this 3 to somewhere else. Okay, so for that we will be using this variable temp. So I will just write it over here. So A of S index, what is S index? Right now the value is 0. So A of 0, what is the value of A of 0? That is the value available at index 0, so that is 3. So value 3 will be copied into temp. So temp has value 3. After that I will copy the value at end index, that is A of 4. Right now the value of end index is 4, to A of S index. So S index is currently 0. So I will copy the value of A of 4. So A of 4 is 7, right? So I will copy value 7 into A of 0. So right now this 3 will be erased and this 7 will be written into this position. So right now the value 3 is not lost because I have stored it inside temp. Now the value of temp is copied into A of end index. So end index is 4, that is the last element. So I will copy value 3 to A of 4. So this 7 will be replaced by 3. So now you see you have replaced the position of 7 and 3. The first element became the last element and the last element became the first element. So now you see the first and the last element are processed. So now I have to move S index 1 forward and E index 1 backward, and after that I have to do the same thing. So I will increment value of S index by 1. So right now S index will become 1. I will decrement the value of E index by 1. So the value of E index will become 3. So now your S index is pointing to value 4, which is available at index 1, and E index is pointing to value 5, which is available at index 3. So now the control will come back to the while loop. It will check the current value of S index, that is 1, is less than the current value of E index, that is 3. You can see this is true. I will come inside. Now I will copy the value of A of S index, that is 1. So right now the value of S index is 1. So A of 1 will be copied into temp. So the value available at index 1 is 4. So now 4 is copied into temp. Now after that I will copy A of end index. Right now the end index value is 3. That is A of 3 will be copied into A of 1 because S index is 1. Now what is A of 3? That is 5. That will be copied into A of 1. A of 1 is this position. So 5 will be copied here. So 4 will be erased and 5 will be written here. We don't have a problem because 4 is copied in temp. We have the value. So now in the next statement, the value at temp, that is 4, will be copied into A of end index. So end index is 3, that is the position of 5. So now the value 4 will be copied into A of 3. So this 5 will be replaced and 4 will be put over here. So right now you see 4 and 5 is replaced. Now I will increase the value of S index to 2. Now I will decrease the value of E index, so that will also become 2. So right now S index is pointing to here, E index is also pointing to here. So now you can see we have reached the middle point, which means my program can stop. Your original list is now reversed. So initially the value of this list was 34057. Now the value available in the same list is 75043. So it is reversed. So again the control will come back to while, and here I will check the value of S index, that is 2, is less than E index, which is also having 2. So you can see this is false because 2 is not less than 2, right? They are equal, so this will be false. Your while loop will terminate. Now once the while loop terminates, your function is finished. Now the control will go back to the function call. Now we have one more statement in the main program, and there you will print the reverse list is list1. So here you cannot use variable a because variable a has scope only inside this function. But if you print list1, you will see list1 has value 75043 because this a and list1 was referring to the same list which was stored inside the memory. So now let us run the program. So our program is ready. You can see this is our function definition for reversing the list, and this is where we are going to get the input for our list, and then I will print the original list, and then I will call the reverse list function which will reverse the same list1, okay, and write it into list1 itself using the variable a. And now here you can see you are printing the same list1, but the content of the list1 will be reversed now. So now I will just execute this program. So how many elements you have to enter? I will enter 5, and now we can enter the list of the element. I will enter 3, 4, 5, 6 and 9. So here you can see this is the original list 3, 4, 5, 6, 9. Now our function reverse list will work on this and it will reverse the values. So now let's go to the next program. In this program, we will use various list built-in functions to do some operations based on a menu. So here the operations that we will be seeing are how to append a value to list, how to insert, how to modify, how to delete elements from list, and finally you can see how to sort the elements of a list. This program is little lengthy, that is why I have put it in 2 boxes. Now our program starts from the left side box, and finally after this statement, the next statement in the program is over here, right? So after the left side is finished, we'll start with the right side. Now to do some operation on a list, we need a list, right? So I have created the list over here, list1. So we have created list1 with these values. And you can see here there are 5 elements inside this list. Now next I have created a variable called choice, and initial value of choice is 0. After that, this entire program is put inside a while loop. And you can check the condition of the while loop is true. We have seen a similar kind of program in the previous chapters. Now I have already told you, when you give the condition itself as true, you should understand always this while loop will evaluate to true, which means that this while loop will never finish. So if you are writing a while loop with condition check as true, inside the program somewhere you should have a provision to break out of the while loop. So here you can see the last if statement. If the choice is equal to 8, then you will print the list and then you will break. So this is where you can exit the while loop, right? Not with the condition, because condition will be always true. It will keep on running this program again and again until you select choice equal to 8. So that break will be executed and your program will be finished. Now when the control come into the while loop, you can see first itself I will print the content of list1. So it will print 34, 56, 12, 9 and 45. After that you can see there is a set of print statement which will print the menu for this program. Okay, to append an element to the list, then 2 to insert an element at desired index, 3 to modify an element in the list, 4 to delete an element by position, Now 5 to delete an existing element by value. Now 6 to sort element in ascending order, and if you select option 7, it will sort the available list in descending order. And you can see here 8 we have reserved for exiting our program. So that is why in the else if statement, for the last choice, you can see if I enter 8, then program will be terminated. So after outputting all these statements to the terminal, now the program waits for an input for variable choice. So this is where the user have to give an entry. Now here it is written, enter your choice between 1 and 8. Now we will go through 1 or 2 examples and then we will run the program because other things are trivial. So let us say we enter 1. So when I enter 1, the value 1 will be stored into variable choice. With this value inside choice, I am going to start my if-elif statements. So first, the if condition will check whether the value of choice is equal to 1. You can see that is true because right now the value of choice is 1. So this will be true. So now the control will come into the if block. So now you know that none of this else if block will work, right? Because that is how if-elif block work, right? Any one unit only will work at one time. Now as this condition is true, now the control will come into if block, and there you have to enter an element that you have to append to the list. Append means to add it to the end of the list. So enter the element to append. For example, if you enter 40, now 40 will be stored into ELE. ELE stands for element in this program. So now 40 will be stored into element, that is ELE. Now I am calling the inbuilt function append on list 1 with value 40. So now 40 will be added as the last element to list 1. So now list 1 will have one more element 40 and it will end here, and here you will have a comma. As I give value 1 to choice, you can see we got the option to append value into the list. Now once this condition is executed, once it is finished, now none of the else if statement will work. Now the control will come back to while. It will print list 1 again. So now we can see 40 is added to the existing list, and then it will again show all the content of this print statement. So which means you can see the menu again. Now after that, the program will again ask you to make an entry to the variable choice. So now for example, we will take the next option as 5. Okay, so 5 is stored into choice. Now after that, my if else if statement will start. First it will check whether 5 is equal to 1. Now this is false. Now it will go to the first elif condition. It will check whether 5 is equal to true. This is false. You can see this condition is false. This condition also is false. This condition is true. So right now we are interested to delete an existing element by value. Now the control will come into this elif block. Now there initially program will print enter the element to be deleted. Now for example, I want to delete this 12. So I will enter here 12 because I am trying to delete with value. So this 12 will be stored into element. Okay, ELE is element. So we will store 12 to ELE, and after that in the if condition I will check whether 12 is available in list 1. Okay, so once you check here, you can see 12 is available because it is inside list 1. So this condition will be true. Now I will remove ELE, that is 12, from list 1. So here remove is an inbuilt function. It will automatically remove 12 from list 1. So this value will be deleted. Now if you enter some other value over here, for example 30, you are asking value 30 to be deleted from list 1. So 30 will be stored into element ELE. So now it will check 30 in list 1. Now this if condition will give false, right? Why? Because it cannot find 30 inside the list, so it cannot be deleted. So now once the condition evaluates to false, the control will come to else and it will print this element, that is 30, is not available in the list. So we are sorry, we cannot delete it. So after that, the control will again go back to while. Okay, and then it will print the content of list 1 again. At this point of time, value 12 will not be there because we have deleted it. And now it will print the menu again and it will wait for user to enter the choice. Now let us say we give another choice value 6. So now 6 will be stored into variable choice. Now our elif statements will start to check the value of choice. So here you can see the if statement check is false. The next elif will be false. It will continue 3, 4, 5, and over here you will get a true, because the value of choice is 6. Now inside here, so when you select 6, you see you are trying to sort the list in ascending order. So inside elif, you just have to call a built-in function called sort. That will automatically sort the content of list 1 in ascending order. So smallest value will be coming first. After that, let's assume 12 is already deleted, so it will not be there. The next smallest value is 34. Then you will have 40, then you will have 45, then you will have 56. Okay, so this is a sorted value, and after sorting, the control will again come to while. It will print the list. So this value you can see after sorting, it will be printed out. Again, menu will be shown. Now if you want to sort the number in reverse order, now here you can see you have to give choice 7. So now the control will come to the next elif statement, because this will be true. Now if you want to sort a list in reverse order, you have to use the same built-in function sort on list 1, but as a parameter you have to specify reverse equal to true. So once the sort function works and it understands that the reverse parameter has to be set to be true, it will sort the list in reverse order, in descending order. So the output is going to be 56. The largest number will come first, then 45, 40, 34, and 9. So this is how you can sort a number in ascending order and also in descending order. In ascending order, you just have to write sort with no argument inside of it. It will sort in ascending order. If you want to sort a list in descending order, this is how you do it. Okay, now you can see there are some other functions. I'm not going to discuss everything because it is going to take too much time. So if you want to insert a value into a particular, if you want to insert an element into a particular position, so this is the index value, you can use this function insert. Okay, so it will work. If you want to overwrite an element at index, you can just do this. Okay, so this will just overwrite the value of element will be copied into this index value, whatever you give. In choice 4 and choice 5, both we are trying to delete an element, right? But in choice 4, we are trying to delete an element with the position value, with the index value. So if you are trying to work with the index value to remove an element, then you have to use the function pop. But in choice 5, which we have already seen, we are trying to delete an element based on its value. Okay, so in that case, you have to use the function remove. For example, if you want to remove value 12, you can call this function. Okay, you can write list1 dot remove in bracket. You can give the value that you want to remove. It will be removed. Now to remove 12, there is one more other way, but you have to know the index value. So 34 is available at index 0, 56 index 1, 12 is available at index 2. You can also use the position to remove that value by using the pop function. So you can also remove 12 by calling the inbuilt function pop, but inside you have to give the index value. So now this will remove 12 from the list. So now I believe we have covered almost all the choices. So now let us run this program. So program is ready. You can see I have created a list with these values, and I've created a variable choice with initial value as 0. Now this entire program, you can see based on the indentation, the entire program is inside while loop. Okay, you can see here until the last statement, everything is inside while loop, and the condition of while is true. So this program is going to repeat itself n number of time until it sees a break, and break is written inside choice 8. Okay, so that is why it is given as exit. You can come down for choice 8. You can see we will break out of the loop, and before breaking out, we will just print the list one last time. Once you're inside while loop, initially it will just print the content of the list. After that, this set of lines are just showing the menu to the user, so they know that which number to input for what action to be done on the list. Okay, so the user will understand if I enter 2, I can insert an element in the desired index value into the list. After that, the user will input the choice, and that will be stored over here. Now based on this choice, only one of this block will evaluate to true. Okay, so if I enter choice value as 2, only these 3 lines will execute. Okay, because only this condition will evaluate to true. So now I'll execute it. As I have asked the print statement to end with a space in all the print statement, you can see the entire menu is coming as one single line. Okay, so that it's easy for us to understand. Otherwise, we need huge screen space for printing all 8 different lines of menu. First, I will select option 1. So I want to append a value to the end of the list. Okay, so that is why I took option 1, because it is used for appending an element. So now I'll hit enter. Now inside this if, you can see enter the element to be appended. So that is what you see over here. So now I will enter 40 and I'll press enter. So now you see it has appended it, and now the control goes back to while loop again. Now it will print the list. Okay, so now I can see now 40 is added to the list as the last element. So append was successful, and after printing the list, it is again displaying all the menu items for you. That is why it is coming again. So right now I will try to modify an existing element. So we will take the option 3. Now I am inside this elif statement. Okay, because I have given choice value as 3. So here they say enter the position of the element to be modified. So I will give position value as 3. And now what is the new element that you want to store in this position? Okay, so I will give 21. So I want to store 21 into position 3 in list 1. So when I press enter, now to list 1 with position value 3, 21 is copied to it, and now the control comes back to while loop. It will print list 1 again. So here you can see at position 3, 21 is entered. Okay, so if I come up, you can see 9 is overwritten. So we changed 9 to 21, okay, by using index value 3. Now that we have done many operations on our list, I will just run program again so that we can study option number 6 and option number 7 to sort the list in 2 different ways. So now let me run the program. So now you can see this is the content of our list as we have given input in the first statement. Okay, so now first I will select option 6 to sort the list in ascending order. Okay, so we will be executing this elif section. Okay, so now I will select option 6. And when I hit enter, you can see now the list is sorted in ascending order. The smallest number 9 is coming first, and the largest number 56 is pushed to the last place. So now we have a list sorted in ascending order. Now the program has printed the menu again. Now if you want to sort the number in descending order, you have to go with option 7. Now before we go with option 7, you can see inside this elif statement, you can see I have written a print statement with sort function. Okay, so actually this print statement is not required, so I'll just delete it. So when I explain the program in the slide, actually this print statement was there, so you just have to remove it. So now I will save the program. Okay, I will execute the program once again. So now again this is our list. Okay, so now if you want to sort it in descending order, I will select option 7 and press enter. So now you can see this is our new list. Okay, so this was our original list. Now as I selected option 7, now I have sorted my list in descending order. So here you can see the largest value is coming first and the smallest value is pushed as the last element. So with this we will wind up the session for list. In the next chapter we will study tuple and dictionary.